Namaste. So today is my birthday, and I decided not to do yoga. I mean, I'm not going to do like yoga asana or meditation or breath work. Instead, I will tell you what yoga for me is, and I will reflect a little bit on my day, on my birthday, on my birthday day. I believe that every human is born to bring light to this world, to do some sort of a service to the earth or to the cosmos, to the physical reality, to this realm, if we can call it so, while one is alive. And there is a reason one to be born, maybe a mission, I don't know, something special. And we are all somehow connected. All of us have gifts, and we bring some sort of a gift to the world, some sort of a, you know, light. And I will speak about yoga today, and I'll share with you something. I'll write about it as well in a blog article, probably this week blog article. I will write it a little bit in more details, maybe. Alexa, stop. And let me tell you what is yoga. So, most people think that yoga is just like an exercise on a mat, like type of asanas or movements. Actually, the asanas are named after different animals like down dog, snake, cobra, we call it, or we just call it with different names of the crow pose, scorpio we have, which means that the positions they represent animals. And if you think, if you go into history, you will see that the first very, very basic thing in the world was animism. Then came shamanism, then came yoga, and all the religions started from somewhere there. And I'm not so sure about yoga where yoga stayed because yoga has many different paths like Vedics. It starts from the Vedics and a lot of things. Anyway, I'm not going to go to that path. I wanted to tell you today that the asanas, the movements, asana is called a movement, like a position in the body. Like this one now that I'm sitting in is called sukhasana or easy pose. That's an asana. Asana means a position of the body in which we feel comfortable in the space and time where we are in. For example, in that position, when I sit, I should feel comfortable, not discomfort in the knees, in the hips, in the spine. And I should stay for a very long period of time so that I can obtain samadhi. So, what is samadhi? Before he even went to reach the asana stage, the asana is the movement stage, like uh, the posture. We start with something called yama. Yamas, then nyamas, then asana. Then we have pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. And those are steps those are called the 8 limbs regarding Ashtanga Yoga or Patanjali of Yoga, it is known as. And while we start first with yamas, yamas is the ethical restraints or how you behave with others. That's the first step that one should look into. And this is part of yoga. It is it is not the posture, it is not the breath, it is the attitude towards others, the behavior towards others. There is 5 different steps there. I'll go through them shortly. I promise I won't dig too much there because I want to tell you something at the end. So then the second one is nyamas. The nyamas is about the personal observation or how you treat yourself, which is even more important. So the first step is how we treat others, then how we treat ourselves. And there are another 5 steps there, and that's really, really a big thing, believe it or not. And then we tap into the asana. The asana is the movement stage, the yoga that everybody call it yoga, and the postures. Then we go to pranayama. Pranayama is the regulation of the breath. The posture actually is trying to bring stability and steadiness. And of course, not only in the body, but as well in the mind, the emotions, and the energy. And this happens with the time. About the pranayama, pranayama is the regulation of the breath. Through pranayama, through breathing, through different breathing techniques, we can regulate the breath and the flow of the breath. Hi there. And then the next step in yoga is pratyahara, or this is withdrawal of senses, the vritis. Vritis is something that is, when I hear vritis, it reminds me we used to have a toy that vritti in my language means varti, means go in a circle, sort of a style. And vritis is exactly like we constantly go in circles in our head. Our mind creates thoughts constantly. And the withdrawal of the senses is exactly stopping those circles and just withdrawal, like going into sort of a purity, if you want to call it. So this is pratyahara. There are many different techniques about withdrawal of senses. Some of those are, oh gosh, yoga nidra. Sometimes words are running out of my mind. Yoga nidra is one of those withdrawal of senses. It's brilliant. And the next step after the withdrawal of senses is dharana. It is concentration, focus. So the ability one to not only to stay stable, but to focus onto something internally or externally. Pure focus, concentration. And then the seventh step is dhyana, which means meditation, the ability to meditate. So after one withdraw the senses, one is able to concentrate, then one can meditate. And samadhi, that's the pure absorption or the surrendering, the enlightenment they call it. This is where clarity comes, insight, wisdom from within, it arises automatically. Some people call it moksha or liberation because once you become aware of all your vrittis, all your rotations, everything that is going on, and this doesn't happen overnight, it happens in stages. I do yoga since 2010 and 11 irregularly, since 2020 regularly, nearly on daily basis. I do meditate since 2011, and I can tell you that things happen in stages. Like first one become aware of the self, of the thoughts that one has, then you may start to observe what you're talking, which means you may start to listen to yourself and to listen and perceive that listening. And then you may start to watch yourself, like even when you walk or when you do different actions. I actually, those are techniques that are written in books. I came to them alone without the help of a book, just through inner self observation. So with me, first the practice happened, and then I found out that those practices exist for centuries. And I was a bit wowed because many of the things that I have experienced, I found them in the books. Most people read and then they do, while I'm the other way around. I do and I found out things alone, and then I found them in the books. So my inner world started to match my outer. I'm a little bit, I always say, backwards, from back to front or from inside out, a bit different for some reason. Anyway, so I wanted to tell you about the yamas, the first step. I'll just tell you about the 5 yamas fastly. The yamas are the moral restraints and the ethical reflections of yoga. And the first one is ahimsa. It is a non-violence, non-causing harm, not only to others but as well to self. The second one is satya. This is truthfulness. Not only you to speak your truth all of the time, but as well you to be truth to yourself, not to lie yourself with thoughts or anything like illusions, dreams, if you want to even call it. The third one is asteya or non-stealing. That includes not only non-stealing of physical items, but as well emotional, mental, people's ideas. Then we have brahmachari. Oh gosh, I don't know if I can even read that. Brahmacharya. I have I have written that. I'm not sure if I can pronounce it correctly. It is the wise use of your energy, or with other words, it's conscious living. And then we have aparik, aparikara, aparikha, aparik, aparikha. What I have written? Aparikara, parigraha, aparigraha. Non-possessiveness or fear of something, which means that when we have fear of something, I'll talk about it today. When we have fear of something, that means that we are attached and we want to possess that thing. So the fear hold us. In order you to go beyond that, you have to go beyond the fear, to let go of that wish of possessiveness. And then things happen, they fall into place. And the yamas, I'll remind you that this is your attitude towards the world, the external one. Now I'll tell you about the internal one, which are the nyamas, the five nyamas. That's the inner observation and cleanness. And the first one is called Sanka or Sancha, some call it. It is about purity. And we talk about purity of the way of our diet, of our as well thoughts, purity of intention, all sorts of purity. Then we go to Santosha. Santosha is contentment or gratitude, acceptance of failure and success. Then we go to tapas. This is disciplined effort, choosing growth, confront, or discomfort. I mean, comfort or discomfort. Like we're choosing growth, doesn't matter if you feel comfortable or no. And even here, we should observe what effort am I avoiding. Then we go to Svadhyaya or self study. I think it's called Svadhyaya. Just I have written an extra HA. Self study. Self study can be through inner observation, exactly what I was talking about. And when we self study, there is a moment when you can start blaming yourself. I went through that stage as well. So make sure that you do not blame yourself. Be open and accept. Acceptance. And then journal your emotions, reflect the trigger. And the last one is Ishvara Pravidana or surrender. Trust the higher consciousness and process. Trust. This is about trust and surrender. Letting go of all control, all attachment, all expectations, and do your best and release the outcome. And then the real magic will happen. There's no one here, so I can go and share. Somebody can watch it after that. So I will tell you about my day today as I promised. And purposefully I started with that lecture so that I can do an introduction about the day. I work sometimes in schools and sometimes I work in the same school for a little bit longer time. And I really wanted to do the end of year talk for their 11 today. And when I say talk, I wanted to demonstrate a headstand because everybody in the school know me as a Miss Headstand. And I wanted to share the story of that headstand, not only show it. And first, I was given permission yesterday, and I was so happy because I was going to share my passion and I was going to motivate the kids because they're about, to hit life, like, and life to hit them really heavily. Some of them. Everybody is different, of course. And I really wanted to motivate them to inspire those kids to share, some super, super, really big insights with them. And today, somebody decided that it's not a good idea. Actually, I even heard the word it's inappropriate to do a headstand in the school. And that word hit me internally really heavily. Like, I cannot tell how heavily it hit me. I did understood the person perspective because I'm very acceptable. I know I have been through that inner journey through the last 5 6 years in a big way, and I did accepted that viewpoint, and I can tell you why those things happen. So like, but I was hurted from inside, and then I asked myself about the yamas and nyamas, where I sit with that idea. Did I attach in some way? Did I expected something? Of course, I wanted to be motivator, to be, to give inspiration. But then why it hit me so hard? So I'm going to reflect on like one of the yamas is like self-reflection. I'll go and reflect today, like here in front of you, and we'll do it a little bit in depth so that hopefully you will grasp it. This is today's lesson for you guys, and it's a big one if you manage to grasp the essence of it. So when I was told, first I was told from one person that it's a no. I said, no, that's not true. They said, go and check. I went and checked with another person that was in charge, and that person, they said, yeah, it's true. You're not going to do a headstand and a talk. And then I felt like my whole world honestly disappeared. Like I felt broken inside. I wanted to cry, to hide somewhere alone. Because usually when I feel in pain, I want to be alone. I don't want to be talked through, or even if you talk to me, I won't listen. I just close, automatically shut down. All the walls fall, so that I can recover internally, and then I can, of course, appear back again normal. And anyway, I went through that process. Of course, I had to interact with others because it's a leading job. And then I met another person, and that other person, they told me that actually it is inappropriate. That word was used. And then it hit me automatically internally, like I didn't understood the viewpoint of the person because I realized where they're seeing it from. It's called perception. Depending where we watch, we see different things. And the most interesting thing is that the real point wasn't mentioned maybe to the table of the discussion between all of those people. The real point wasn't about the actual doing of that posture. It was about the talk, the lesson that I have learned, sharing that lesson in order to get there. And it was really interesting because what happened after that is I realized that when we communicate, the first thing we don't do is we do not listen to others. We we just, if you do not listen, you can not understand. Sometimes you listen, but you do not understand because your inner world, your in coaching we call it meta programs. Your meta programs are different from the other people on the table meta programs because everyone have a different filters of perception taking the information in and different filters of taking it out. I mean, processing it internally and taking it out. And it hit me that the other The people weren't discussing the main point, first of all. And second of all, like, I don't know, I felt it very unfair. And I'm going to tell you tonight about the talk I was supposed to do because this is my space, my stage. And even though I didn't manage to inspire those kids today, I'll inspire some of you maybe on here. So this is my point. I'll tell you the story about the headstand. So I do train yoga on and off the mat since 2010-11 very regularly. It was my journey. And in 2020, when the great pandemic hit, I started training yoga. I went on a 200 hours yoga training in which was taken in 2 months. And over there we had 4 hours a day yoga. Like 90 minutes we had asana clinic, including half an hour pranayama. We had as well right like alignment, it's called alignment class, how we to correctly stay into the space with the asana, and we had meditation 1 hour. And like headstand, not that it was my goal, but I'll call it as a goal and as a dream here because it is a pretty challenging posture. When I started doing yoga, I struggled to touch my hands at the back. Imagine that this is my back, my hands were up to here. I struggled to hold them. What about to lift them? I mean, like when you hold them, you can lift them, yeah? I struggled to touch them. What about lift them? Which means that my shoulders were very closed. As well, if I have to do an exercise to bend down, I was reaching hardly my knees. Now I can reach at the bottom of the feet. If you have watched me, I was hardly reaching my knees. I was so tense, like unflexible at all. And imagine a person like that who is not stretched at all to be able to perform like headstand. Of course you can, but for a headstand is necessarily few factors. You need to have a good hands to support you, a good wrists movements like flexibility in the wrists, shoulders need to be nice and stable, neck need to be as well in a good muscle. And the most important thing is the core muscles. The whole core need to be nice and strong. And there are a few other very important factors for the headstand, and those are the nervous system need to be balanced, and this is a lot to do with the way we breathe, which means that you have to have a balanced breathing to be able to have a balanced like nervous system, especially if you do the headstand without a support. You should be able to breathe pretty stable and balanced so that you can stabilize yourself on your head and stay stable there. And the last piece of the jigsaw, if I may call it so, is the ability to face your fear. Because when we do a headstand, we may fall over. And most of the people, like me, they focus on the fear of falling. Like, I'll fail, I'll fall down, instead of focusing on I will stay straight and I'll succeed. So here was going to be the motivational talk that in life we may encounter many failures, but if we focus on them, we will struggle to stand up and walk back up, and we will struggle to continue where we should go. So make sure that even if you fail, you stand up and walk again that path. And make sure before everything that you focus on the stability and the success and the growth rather than on the fear. In yoga, we have a saying, people call it mantra, you can call it affirmation. It is called wherever the mind goes, energy flows. So the question here is, where is my mind going? Where I'm sending my energy to go? And I would like to encourage you to ask yourself this. This is one of the best mantras ever that I have used. It have really helped me. Wherever the mind and focus goes, energy flows. Where is my mind going right now? Am I sending the energy right now? And shortly, this is about the headstand. I just want to tell that it took me 8 months I to do the headstand with a wall, and then it took me 2 years I to do it without a support. And on the day when I was doing it without a support, I was so scared. No joke about it. I was focusing purely on the failure that I'll fall, I'll fall. And I said, okay, let me take the camera. I took the camera and I started filming myself. Even I have a video about that. And I put wording on top of it. I'm going to share it with you on some of my socials. And then I tried to do it and I failed. I roll over straight away. And this was the first time when I roll over, because the first time I didn't hit whoa. I went in the garden and did it there. And then I said, it's okay, I can just roll over and can repeat again. But then I catch myself after that first try that I'm focusing on the fear and that I'm focusing on the failure already. Because from the fear, I'm holding my breath, I hold everything and I crumble, I shake, and then I fall. And then I ask myself, what I'm focusing on? Am I focusing on failing? And can I change that? And of course I can. It's an internal switch. And I did change it to I'm focusing on stability, on breath control, and calm and peaceful. And I did it. I just lift up the feet and I did it. And I stayed there for a little bit and then, of course, straight away calm down. But since then, I realized that every single day for those 2 years, doing for 60 to 90 minutes yoga daily, without seeing the result coming, like it took so long. In order to get to our goal or dream, to achieve it, it's need persistency, it's need discipline, it's need consistency and perseverance and a lot other things. And mainly it needs you to see and to look your fear into the eyes and just to say, doesn't matter what, I'm looking into the eyes and I'm going to focus on success, not on failure. And then the magic will happen out of a sudden, like out of nowhere. So that was going to be my motivational talk of the day. The inappropriate one, I don't know where the inappropriate thing about that is. To motivate someone, to tell them about a journey, to tell them about the values that are extremely important. So, for anything we want to achieve, we need to put effort, persistency, and consistency, and patience, and perseverance. And then the magic will happen out of a sudden without we realizing. It's just happened. The things, there is no way it's not to happen. And as well, the mindset is very important. The attitude towards the things, towards the things you see, you perceive, it's of an extreme importance. And now to finish this talk, I wish you to focus more on success and be more open, more acceptable, and mainly like learn to self-value yourself because others may not always see the value in you or the services that you offer just because of their viewpoint of the world. But this doesn't mean that you're not valuable. Yeah, you're more valuable than you can imagine. I just wanted to leave this message with you today. And yeah, I'm not going to demonstrate a headstand. I feel super sleepy and tired. I'm going straight to bed. I was thinking to, but I'm not going to. I don't feel in the position to do it. I can fall asleep standing like now. Okay, that's for me for today. A lot of blabbing, and I hope that it was useful for some of you. It was like a mini lecturer from me. I'll see you tomorrow with a real practice. Namaste until then. Good night. See you soon. Bye.